again. This is Satan's Trilogy, Book 3, Chapter 2, and this will be reading 76. Sit back, relax, let the story unfold. I'm the author and the narrator. Day quickly said to the guys, "It's not a race, but I want to beat Esther back to her apartment." Day ran to the Mustang and pulled out of the parking lot with the ease of a professional driver. Day understood that it would be impossible to pass Esther, but she hoped to arrive at the apartment at the same time. Day was surprised Esther had not arrived home before her. 3 minutes later, Esther pulled into the apartment parking lot and parked the Ninja. Day walked up and asked, "Where have you been, Esther?" Esther chuckled. "Well, I had to stop for some gasoline. The Ninja is good on fuel economy, but it does need topped off every now and then." They entered the apartment together, and the twins were waiting exactly like the day before, standing in the center of the living room, dressed in Gothic clothing and looking proud. They had new outfits on from the day's shopping, and they were looking for approval. Didn't take long, for they looked Gothic hot. Day spoke first. "Oh my God," said Day. "You two are giving Gothic a whole new definition of what is hot." They did a pretend fanning of her face with her hand. Esther spoke next. "You two look awesome, and there is nothing more hot than a girl that can take care of herself in any situation. I see you are ready, so let's hit the road. Why don't we take the Escalade? My cousin has provided for you two. My Mustang is great, but a bit small for such towering women." Esther added, "Let's let Day drive. She has truly impressed me with her skills as a driver." The twins were thrilled and flattered at all of the comments, and then Tracy quickly said, "That's a great suggestion, Esther. The Escalade will be more comfortable for everyone. It is a great car. I've decided the day we settle down, I am going to buy one." Danielle spoke up. "I agree. I would love one if we ever settle down." "All right," said Esther. "Let's grab your car and take a ride. Sounds like I should be impressed by this car." Tracy quickly spoke up. "It's not just a car, it is a Cadillac Escalade." They grabbed the car fob off the table and said, "I have the car's fob. Let's go." Everyone quickly filed out of the apartment and left for the second instructional class led by Esther. At the warehouse, the Escalade pulled in first. The twins, Esther and Day, got out of the Escalade and walked up the sidewalk towards the door. Within seconds, Raven pulled in behind the Escalade. Riley Grace was a passenger and having the time of her life. She loved the freedom given on a motorcycle. The two girls jumped off the bike and walked up the sidewalk, joining Esther and the others. Riley Grace had run up and given Esther a big hug, accompanied by a loving smile. Dan and his crew made their appearance at that moment, coming around the corner of the building the same way they did the day before. No one had changed. They were still wearing the clothes they had on in school, baggy jeans and some W.O.W. t-shirts featuring Bo Jackson. Esther reached the door and entered the passcode 54632. and the door broke open. Everyone had entered, and Esther was about to shut the door when someone ran up and was calling Esther's name. "Esther, wait! Esther, please wait for me." It was Amy Grace, the competitive runner from the 6th-hour PE class. She was almost exhausted as she blurted out, "I had to beg my father to let me come. Esther, I overheard Day that you were teaching a small class some self-defense at a warehouse. Esther, please instruct me to, please." Amy stopped talking. She was short of breath. Somehow she had found the warehouse and managed to arrive on time. Esther smiled at Amy and said, "All right, you're here, and you begged your father. Since he agreed, he must love you very much. He knows that being able to defend yourself will be rewarding in many ways." Esther smiled. "Your father is wise. Come on in." Everyone walked into the center of the first floor of the warehouse, like the day before, but they found one thing different. A very wide and thick rubber mat had been laid down on the floor. It was at least 60 by 180 feet long, reaching nearly the entire length of the warehouse. Esther raised her voice slightly. "I have 2 things to share with everyone. We now have a mat to prevent any unnecessary injuries while practicing our movements, and someone new has joined us." Esther smiled and pulled Amy close to her, and as she hugged her from the side and explained to the others, "This is Amy. She is in my PE class at school. Amy is a friend, and she begged her father to let her come here tonight." Esther smiled at Amy. "So she needs to catch up from yesterday. Let's form a long line and let Amy work her way down the line." Amy looked at Esther, watched everyone form a long line almost immediately, and she asked, "What am I supposed to do?" Esther smiled. "Just move quickly down the line and give everyone a hug," said Esther. Amy was not about to allow any small obstacle to stand in her way, and so she quickly started to hug and kiss everyone in the line, quickly reached the end of the line, and then turned towards Esther. Smiling at the new student, Esther said, "All right, we'll do the same as yesterday. Everyone will practice the moves with each person once. Tonight, we practice gaining control of an attacker from the front. I will show you only 3 moves tonight. They are the only moves you will ever need if you master them." Esther looked at the small group, anxious to learn, and decided to start with Amy. "I will demonstrate with Amy." Esther motioned for Amy to come forward. Amy ran to the side of Esther. Esther smiled and said, "It is good that you are eager and that you ran up to me. We have a lot to learn, and I'll not let anyone leave here without understanding tonight's lessons." Esther looked at Amy. She was smiling and happy to be standing alongside of her. Esther decided to repeat yesterday's short lecture. "As I said yesterday, we control others by pain. No one likes pain, and they try to avoid it. If we apply a grab that's positioned properly and hurts the attacker, then they will try to avoid that pain, and we have control of them." Amy had lost her smile. She was wondering how much pain was involved. Esther said to Amy, "Please use both hands and place them around my neck." Amy immediately did so, and Esther grabbed her right wrist with her right hand, pressing her thumb into the center of her wrist. At the same time, Esther took her left hand, pushed it against Amy's right elbow. Esther spoke up. "This must be done quickly, and the key to controlling the attacker is turning their wrist counterclockwise while raising their elbow up. And then once their arm is straight, you maintain leverage on the elbow by pushing down. It is done like this. Esther made the move slow enough for everyone to see, but fast enough that Amy quickly went to her knees. Esther said to Amy as she helped her up, "Two things, Amy. We always help our training partner up, but never an attacker. The other thing is that we practice in our street clothes, because if you are attacked, it is likely you will be wearing everyday clothes." Esther looked around and spotted her aunt and called her over. "And Brandy, let's show everyone this move one more time. Amy, stand back just a bit." And Brandy put her hands around her neck. She did so, and Esther went through the defensive move, explaining what was happening so that everyone could see. And Brandy went to her knees, and Esther held her there. If this was a real attacker, I would suggest you dislocate his or her elbow. That can be done by dropping your knee to their back and pushing on the elbow with your hand. Then, when you run away, the attacker will not be chasing you. They'll be looking for a hospital. Esther helped her Aunt Brandy up and told everyone to form a line and start rotating in the same fashion as the day before. Within a mere 4 hours, everyone had completed the instructions and was exhausted. Esther stood proud in front of them, proclaiming, "I am very pleased. Everyone has understood the moves. Remember, speed is the biggest factor in controlling an attacker. They seldom expect a quick defensive move." Esther walked off the edge of the rubber mat and said, "I have reservations at Italy's pizza parlor for everyone. Luciano Pilarzi has promised that he'll have a table ready for us at 8 o'clock. If we hurry, we can all enjoy some wonderful pizza." Esther turned to Amy. "How did you get here, Amy?" Looking a bit embarrassed, Amy admitted, "I took the city bus." "Well then, you get to ride with the twins and me." Esther seemed rather pleased about this. "Please call your father and let him know that we will see you home." Amy pulled a phone out from her purse that she had left laying alongside the mat. She placed the call and spoke with her father. Within seconds, she said, "My father would like to meet you when you take me home, if you have the time." Amy seemed a bit embarrassed at this suggestion. Amy smiled. "I would be honored to meet your father." She turned to the twins. "This will only be a small delay in getting home." Danielle quickly said, "There is no hurry in getting back home. Tracy and I would love to meet your father too." Amy seemed to beam with excitement. She was not only taking home her teacher and friend, but 2 new friends that were stars of the W.O.W. Everyone wanted to enjoy the pizza and quickly took off for Italy's pizza parlor. They all felt comfortable with Esther present, knowing that she always had control of any situation. Arriving at the same time, Riley was jumping up and down that the bike ride had been exciting, and Raven said to Riley that she totally agreed. The 2 girls loved riding the Ninja. John and his crew pulled in on their Ninjas and parked alongside of the Escalade. Dave pulled in behind the Escalade, and the rest of the girls climbed out and greeted each other. Again, the evening's workout had left everyone hungry, and they all started for the entrance to Italy's pizza parlor. Suddenly, an old man came out from the parlor, waving his hands. It was Luciano Pilarzi Sr., and he was excited to see Esther. Speaking in Italian, he quickly welcomed Esther and her friends, offering to usher them inside to a waiting table. Esther had grasped the senior Pilarzi's, putting her arms around him. Speaking in Italian, Esther said, "We are a very hungry group tonight. These are my closest friends, my sister, and of course my aunt. The senior Pilarzi said in Italian, "Not to worry, you will leave here tonight happy and full." Esther hugged the old man even closer as they entered the pizza parlor. Luciano III was inside greeting customers, and when he saw Esther, he immediately stopped his line of thought and looked at the party following Esther. When he saw Aunt Brandy, it was like a child's face lighting up on Christmas morning. He immediately excused himself for a moment with the customer in front of him and went to greet Esther. "It is so wonderful to see you again, Esther," said Luciano. He then looked at Aunt Brandy and added, "It is wonderful to see you too, Brandy. My grandfather has been excited to see you both. I hope to be able to speak with you later. For now, my grandfather will escort your party to the tables we have reserved for you." Esther had picked up on the immediate attention that the young Luciano had shown to her aunt, but Brandy was oblivious to it. She was looking forward to a Pilarzi pizza and, of course, a mug of beer. Everyone followed the senior Pilarzi, and he led them to two large tables pushed together in the rearmost part of the pizza parlor. Everyone quickly sat down as the senior Pilarzi asked what everyone would like to drink. And like the time before, it was water for everyone and beer for Aunt Brandy and the twins. This time, though, the twins ordered 2 pitchers of beer. "Why not save time?" said Tracy as she glanced at Danielle. After ordering the 2 pitchers of beer, Danielle immediately agreed and said, "Sister, you read my mind. We know that we need 2 pitchers of beer, so why not order them immediately?" Danielle smiled at Tracy with approval. Esther looked at Mr. Luciano Pilarzi Sr. and said, "Please let me help you the way I did before. We make a great team." Esther smiled at the old man as she grabbed his arm and walked with him. Everyone was chatting away about every subject under the sun. Riley Grace looked at her sister and made a comment. "I wish that I was old enough to ride a ninja on my own." Raven looked at her sister. "Perhaps you don't have to wait 3 years to ride a bike. Maybe you can ride an off-road bike and gain some riding experience that way." Riley Grace became excited. "You mean like a dirt bike, riding in the woods and on trails in the country?" Riley Grace was excited. Raven said, "There must be something close by that you can get some experience on riding a bike. Let's ask Esther if she knows of somewhere you could ride a bike." At that moment, Esther and the elderly Luciano Pilarzi Sr. returned with everyone's drinks. Esther was holding the 3 pitchers of beer as Luciano placed them on the table for the twins and Aunt Brandy. He then placed the water glasses around the table as Esther held the tray of glasses that had placed close by. Esther hugged the elderly Pilarzi and told him, "We work well together." Then Esther gave him a kiss on the cheek. The Pilarzi pizzas had already been ordered. While Esther was helping with the drinks, Mr. Pilarzi's granddaughter took the pizza order. Everything was so similar to the night before at Italy's pizza parlor that a few of the girls felt some deja vu. Esther was the exception. She knew that today was definitely different from the last dining experience. Tonight, the girls were closer than ever. They were having fun as a close-knit family. Even John and his crew felt pulled into the warmth of the gathering. Esther gave the elderly Pilarzi a hug as he excused himself to make welcome a large group that had reservations. He said, "Esther, please say goodbye to me before you leave." Esther smiled at the senior Pilarzi and said, "I would never think of leaving without saying arrivederci." Esther took her seat and watched Mr. Pilarzi walk off to help seat another party. Dave put her hand on Esther's shoulder and commented, "You really like that old man, don't you?" Esther turned to Dave. "I have never known a grandfather, but I know the old have great knowledge and desperately want to share it with the young. Mr. Pilarzi is a wonderful old man with some medical problems, and yet he has shown me a willingness to accept treatment that is difficult to handle, and he does it for others." Esther smiled at Dave. "Besides, old Italian men are so cute." Esther giggled and laughed. Dave laughed with Esther and said, "Esther, he really is adorable. You have a knack at finding special people." At that moment, the pizzas arrived, and everyone started to grab some from the center of the table. Altogether, 4 large Pilarzi pizzas were placed on the table, and that was more than enough food. And Brandy had resisted the urge to order another pitcher of beer, but she did help the twins empty their pitchers, and so Brandy would not be driving home tonight. Esther smiled at her aunt. It was acceptable that Brandy had a weakness for beer with pizza. She was enjoying herself, and Esther would see that she arrived home safely. Before leaving, Esther, as promised, found the elderly Pilarzi and gave him a hug. "I will be back in 3 days with my classmates. We are going to have a pasta dinner to prepare for a cross-country run." Esther smiled and proudly said, "We are favored to win the state competition, and with a meal of Pilarzi's pasta, I am certain that we will do well." The old man smiled at Esther, then remarked, "We have heard good things about Grant High School cross-country team, and we are excited to support the school." The old man smiled at Esther, glancing at his grandson. He made a quick comment, "My grandson works too much." The senior Pilarzi shook his head in frustration, then smiled at Esther. "We are excited about the state competition, and we are excited about supporting Grant High School." Esther gave the old man another hug. "Well then, this Friday, we will again see each other." Giving the old man one final hug, Esther turned for the door and made her way to the front. She found the younger Pilarzi speaking with Aunt Brandy. He promptly left as Esther arrived, then greeted some more guests. And I believe I will stop there. Hope you enjoyed that. That was reading 76. And until next time, be safe and take care.